Hey, good evening. This is Dr. Eric Live. Let's see. Those are the pots and pans behind me. That's my defense tonight. Hey, good evening. Dr. Eric is live here tonight. We're going to talk a little bit. There's a big conference coming up, and the conference is coming from the FDA. And what they're looking at is they're looking at the effects of CBD and cannabinoids on sex and gender. And I've been talking about that for some period of time. They think that women have a greater degree of response to the cannabinoids and CBD. And Susan just joined us. Good evening, Susan. What I have always thought of the speciality of CBD in women because that's where we started off giving lectures. We started giving lectures on osteoporosis. And I just signed up for the conference, and it's going to be a virtual conference, and I'm going to be there so that we can see. And they asked me what, who was I, and I said I'm a researcher, and what was my subject matter, and I told them osteoporosis. Now I've done 2 national talks on osteoporosis and the effects of cannabidiol, better known as CBD, on osteoporosis. And now the FDA is getting interested, and they're going to have a conference. Osteoporosis is a disease of attrition. When we lose our estrogen, when women lose their estrogen in a menopausal standpoint, from a menopausal standpoint, they can lose up to 3 to 4% of calcium per year. And I started out with electrically induced osteogenesis in the 70s, talking about bone stimulation. And then I moved to the medicinal purposes of cannabis and find that one of the biggest medicinal purposes is the fact that we have a bone stimulating capability. That CBD has works on the endocannabinoid system, right? CBDA does not. It works on the cyclooxidase pathway. But let's go back to the CBD pathway and the endocannabinoid system, and we have 2 receptors. We have CB1 and CB2 receptors, and each receptor sites receive these neurotransmitters that do many different things. And what it does most importantly is that the CB2 receptors are located in bone, and when they're stimulated with cannabinoids, guess what they do? They create bone stimulation. So this is major. This is big. And there are other countries that have done studies on this, and I'm trying to get a study completed out at the Maine Medical Center Research Institute in Scarborough, Maine, so that we can prove it. Now, something happened today. My business partner and cousin has a new attorney that is probably going to join us to lend us a helping hand. And that helping hand is to try to look at all of the drugs that basically get approved. And today he sent me an article that basically talked about the bypassing things from an in vivo standpoint was possible. That they're going to make some modifications to get things moving, okay, at warp speed. I use that word very carefully. All right. So what we're doing here is we're looking at one of the largest public health problems for the 21st century, and that is osteoporosis. And ladies and gentlemen, men get it too, but men get it to a lesser extent. Men get it too, but women live much longer than men, historically right now, and so therefore they have a much greater risk of losing that 2 to 3 to 4% of calcium per year. Menopausal at 50, live till 80. Okay, 30 times 4, you've lost all of it. And I'll get a picture. I was trying to show you my slides, and I'm going to try to put those slides up on one of our new platforms. I'm working with a talented young man who is trying to make sure that what I'm saying is being captured, and so that we can capture it for prosperity and we can reproduce it when we need to. We have a new YouTube channel. The talk that I gave on Saturday, go to YouTube, go to Dr. Eric I, and you can listen to, it was 1 hour and 8 minutes. It was jam-packed full of historical and educational facts. We're also now on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and there's one more, and I'll think of it, on Facebook. So please, number one, like what you see here every night, because then it gets out to a larger audience that we can get to. And we need to educate folks, because the endocannabinoid system needs to be explained. In 2018, 87% of allopathic medical schools, that's MD, I'm an MD, okay, and did not have, or did not mention, or did not talk about, or did not study the endocannabinoid system. Now that's probably criminal, but because it was a crime back in 2003, that the cannabis plant was illegal, the whole species was illegal, the whole species was a federal crime, the whole species was designated as a Schedule I drug, then people couldn't study it. People couldn't do anything with it. Okay? So in 2018, with the Farm Bill of 2018, hemp was segregated out of the cannabis plant is okay, as long as it had less than 0.3 percent by dry weight of THC. Now they've gone and they've backed up on that now. They're thinking that they want to take the THCA and the THC and combine it together. Not fair, because we never ever get to the THC part, because we don't use a solvent, a distillant to manufacture our products. We use now cold press. We've evolved, and we're going to keep on evolving. I had you all take your pen and pencils out earlier last week. If you haven't seen it, you can go back. It's probably, I think it's 183 or 185. We have 190 plus of these live Facebook lives at night. And I'm doing it principally because of the COVID-19. I'm keeping it because what we have done is evolved so very far to find out that CBD and the immune system have a much closer relationship than we ever thought, and that this homeostatic neurotransmitter system is very important and probably responsible. We have AARP writing articles on CBD now and on the immune system. I mean, that should tell you a whole lot, that the generalized acceptance, if you haven't seen the big rash of insurgents and the overwhelming push about CBD, but I say it's much more than CBD. It's 120 different cannabinoids that we have to study. And we talked a couple nights ago about CBD, CBDA, and its effect, and how it can works in a different pathway, and how it's becoming big. I had you all take your pens and pencils out and put down CBG, because they believe that will become one of the major rages in the near future. So we have a lot to look forward to. But for women's health, I'm very interested in osteoporosis, and I want to show you, and I'm going to see whether my this young man that's working with me can put up the talk that I've given already, and see whether we can so that we can take it and go through it one night and look. It has great pictures. It has great explanations of how we get it done. So we are we're going to try to get that coordinated. He's going to put up. I have several lectures. I have a lecture. I have a YouTube from that event after I gave that talk in Tucson, Arizona, back in 2019. That's going to come up on the YouTube channel. Okay, we have other. There's a TV show that I did on hemp when we planted hemp, and that's going to come up on the YouTube channel. So please go to Instagram, please go to YouTube, please go to Facebook, okay? Please go to LinkedIn, and whichever social media you use, please do so. So that's some of what I wanted to tell you about tonight. I wanted to tell you that I signed up for the course for the FDA coming in November. I'm going to be guest speaker at a Legacy event in Chicago on October the 17th, and I'll tell you more about that. I'm going to be doing a radio program in Portland, Maine, and coming up. I'll tell you about that. But what we want to do is we want to share this, and we want everybody to understand our credo and how to get your vitamin CBD. So let's talk about the credo. The credo is, have you had your daily vitamin CBD today to support your immune system? You remember we used to say mental clarity and bone health, but we're interested in the immune system now, because COVID-19, whether you're wearing a mask or social distancing, you still have to have a strong immune system, and we want to get that bona fide and as strong as we possibly can. So we're learning so much more because of COVID-19. So the coronavirus is forcing us to get to a point where we're something that has been coveted for the last 50 years is now been leached out, and the doors are wide open, and we need to continue to study it. We talked about CBG the other day and whether it's going to be the next big thing in the cannabinoids. I can't tell you where the next big thing is, but I'm going to keep on seeking to find it. What we're doing right now is we're trying to increase the CBDA to the highest possible level because of all of the serotonin receptors that are available in CBDA. And because it works on the cyclooxidase pathway, and because the CBD works on the endocannabinoid pathway, then we have two pathways, and we call it two-path. And if you need to get it, go to dailyvitamincbd.com, www.dailyvitamincbd.com. Now, you know that a bunch of you have had your jellies. We talked about the gummies. I'm correcting myself. Here's what I had to do. I had two entities on the label that people didn't understand. Number one, they didn't understand nano emulsification, and they didn't understand what a jelly was. So what I did is I pulled the nano emulsification and put it in the first line of the, and those labels are going to be ready. I put it in the very first line. So I went through a went through a structural change, because going from shop to shop and talking to people, trying to get them to determine what was different about this, they got lost. And these are smart people. These are people that are in the business. And I realized that the nano emulsification needed to be on the very first line. And then I realized that they didn't know what a jelly was. Now, that was my French chef that suggested that. So I changed it from jellies to gummies. People tend to know. Now, a lot of times gummies, people will think about gummy bears, they think, and I don't want children thinking of it in that framework. Now, they're pretty large, so what you can do is you can cut them in half. You know that you have the nano emulsification that's going to give you an 80% availability opposed to a 20% availability, so bigger bang for your buck. And people want to know where to use it. Okay, we had Dawn, no, it wasn't Dawn, it was Kit. It was Kit that the other day that basically told us that she cuts it into 4 squares, and she'll use it 3 or 4 times a day in order to keep her endorphins rocking and rolling. Okay, I want to hear back from people that have gotten it. I got my cookie lady called me today, and we're going to send hers out tomorrow. All right, I was in Bangor today, and I have to send some back up there that I met with people. So please share this Facebook Live, because you can help to make this go viral. And the best way of doing that is liking it and sharing it. And we're going to be talking more and more about other things that other differences maybe between men and women, that gender situation and how it affects it. But men get osteoporosis too, so don't think that I'm not saying that. And it probably creates bone stimulation there as well. Bone stimulation by the CB2 receptors in the endocannabinoid system where we have CBD. That's where we want to go, but we want to quantitate that so that we can hopefully stave off this large osteoporotic fracture situation that's going to happen to our population, because we're living much longer. In 1935, the average life expectancy was 62 years. The average life expectancy now for a white female is like 79.9 years and going up. And by 2030, life expectancy is supposed to be 90.3 years. 1 in 3 children born today are going to be living to 100. Woohoo! But what we have to do is we have to have the skeletal support system, which is my specialty right from my out of the gate in medical school. Orthopedics was the baby, and it still is. And we talked about bone stimulation in 1975, and we're talking about bone stimulation 2020. So you do the math, and you can see that we've been talking about this for, this sounds like 45 years. Yep, 25, 35, 45 years. We've been talking about this, and we're not finished yet. So thank you very much for your time tonight. Okay, so if you need any of our 14, 12 SKUs, going soon to be 13, soon to be 14. I have a new one coming out. I'll tell you about that Monday. Once the labels get here, I can then talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it prematurely so that you can't order it. I want you to be able to order it, and if you need it. So please and thank you. Have a good night. Out.